My name is Marilyn and I earned my bachelor's degree in history at St. Lawrence University, and I also received my minor in sociology at St. Lawrence University.
Hi, my name is Leticia Ramirez. I graduated from Stanford University with a Bachelor of Arts in History and UCLA School of Law with a Juris Doctor.
When I decided to go to St. Lawrence University, I didn't know what major I wanted to get. So in my freshman year, I was recommended to just try a bunch of classes. And one class that I chose was history-related European 17th century history. My professor told me that at the end of the day, what matters the most is whether you like your major or not. So I was really stressed about just trying to make that decision of which major will dictate the rest of my life, but I realized that at the end of the day, for these next 4 years, I should choose a major just because I really enjoy attending the class. So I would say my professor, Alun Gabriel, he was the one that encouraged me to try different things, took a history class, and I really loved it.
I always enjoyed history when I was in high school. Actually, even junior high, I always really enjoyed learning about US history and then world history as well. So when I went to Stanford my freshman year, I had the opportunity to shop around. They allow you to shop for classes. I took a couple of history classes. I really liked them. And then I also checked out psychology. I knew that I was going to do more of a humanities major, which is referred to as like fuzzy versus techie. Math was never my strong suit. At that point, I really wasn't sure what I was going to do after college, but I knew my strong suit is reading and writing, and so I knew that humanities majors were more in my strength.
For me, when I think about history, I think about the past, and I think about the present, and I think about the future. And understanding the past allows me to understand the world around me, understand where I come from and why I look the way I look, why my parents are the way they are, and why I think a certain way. And history also gave me a perspective where the person that made a decision 200-300 years ago somehow impacts me today in the present. That to me tells me that the decisions that we make in the now impact a person in the future. So in a way, we're all connected. And having that understanding because of history made me feel more important, and it made me feel like what I'm doing now in the present has more meaning, because it's a continuum of what was, what is, and what will be. And being a history major in St. Lawrence University, I was able to learn about the past, learn about stories, and communicate that.
Very commonly when you're in college, they have lunchtime talks, and I went to a couple of those, and I felt really comfortable with one history professor, and that is why I decided that I wanted to major in history, because I also knew that I would need an academic advisor or academic professor who would be helpful to me in terms of letters of recommendation if I wanted to go to graduate school. And it was I think for me it was an easier decision than I thought it would be. And like I said, it was really about, I enjoy reading and I feel confident in my writing, and I thought I could excel in history classes.
So I'm currently the Director of Government Relations for Equifax. And in this role, what I do is I essentially represent the company's interests to local government, state government, and the legislature in California.
I am currently the General Counsel for Calbright College. Calbright College is one of the 116 community colleges here in California. Calbright is the first fully online community college that is statewide here in California. I am their primary legal advisor and their attorney.
And what I do on the day-to-day is I essentially attend a lot of video calls, a lot of Zoom meetings. I also interact with the legislature, and my goal is to not only establish relationships with legislators and their staff, as well as county supervisors and city council members, but also to strategize big picture on how to pass funding or pass a policy initiative or change a certain policy initiative that was introduced by a lawmaker that could potentially have an adverse impact on our company. We're integrated in a lot of different parts in a lot of different industries, and what we do is we give the right tools to the right industries to help people like my parents, like myself, like you and I, get access to financial services, get access to a home, get access to a car, get access to social services. So I am someone who protects that, who advances that from a government relations perspective.
General counsel, my role is to advise on all things that are legal. And oftentimes, because of the way that a community college functions, there's also opportunities for me to make recommendations about policy. So a typical day for me is receiving emails or calls or a Zoom meeting request for me to talk to staff about a particular issue. If they're trying to, for example, if the IT team wants to start using a certain kind of website to collect student information, they may check in with me about, well, what are the privacy regulations under state law and legal issues that they should be aware of as they do that work.
When I decided to go to college, I didn't know what career I wanted to do. But one thing I did know is that I was passionate about fighting human trafficking. I just didn't know what capacity I would be doing that. So that's why when I attended St. Lawrence University, because I didn't know which career would allow me to fight for that, my professor just said, get your bachelor's in whatever you like. So in my 4 years, I knew that I had to try different opportunities. So one summer, I did an internship for the McNair Scholars Program, which is a research program for low-income students at universities. Then the next thing I did is I volunteered with nonprofits. So I volunteered with a nonprofit in Los Angeles, one in Mexico, and another one in Austria and Europe. And I thought maybe I can be an advocate on the ground, helping victims of human trafficking. And my last internship that I did was a month-long internship at the state capitol through the Chicano Latino Youth Leadership Project, otherwise known as COLP. And I was accepted, and I did a one-month-long internship with Senator Lois Wolk. And it was through that 1 month that not only did I get to experience what it's like to work at the state capitol, but I also got to meet a lot of professionals that looked like me, women and men, in different roles. So not just in public policy, but also in corporations, sort of what I do now. So it was that made me realize, you know what, I think government, policy making, and in budget, I can make a difference and fight human trafficking in this way. So that's when I applied to the Assembly Fellowship Program a few months later, which is a very prestigious fellowship program in California, and where you're placed in an office of an assembly member or a senator, and you essentially work as a legislative assistant for a whole year, and you get a really hands-on experience on how to do policy and how to pass budget.
It was through Puente that I was given access to a number of Latino college students and a number of different programs, in particular the Chicano Latino Youth Leadership Program. And it was my participation in that conference that I first met a Latina who went to Stanford. And she happened to be my peer counselor during that week. And she really encouraged me to apply to Stanford. At that time, when I went to high school, Chelsea Clinton, the daughter of the president, was at Stanford. And that was the only space I had ever really heard of Stanford. So to meet a Latina who was encouraging me to apply was super powerful and life-changing in that way. I took a couple of years off in between college and law school, and I had the opportunity to work for nonprofit organizations that really gave me an opportunity to see how the different types of work that lawyers do. So when I was in law school, I made it a point to seek out internships where I would work with organization, like a nonprofit or city or county. The type of lawyering that I do is referred to as transactional. I'm not in a courtroom. I'm reviewing documents, I'm advising, I'm in meetings, I'm in offices. And I really enjoy that type of work. It's not as adversarial or confrontational, and it's more collaborative because I get to work with different departments and professionals who have different expertise. Let's say the human resources team who's working on recruiting new employees. And we get to work together to identify solutions to different problems that may come up. I get to see the impact of my advice pretty quickly, whether it be in like how a policy is written or how a program is rolled out. And I think a lot of the internships that I had during law school were really helpful to me in gaining knowledge, experience, and also a network. And just learning about all the different types of work or what it looks like to be a lawyer is not exactly the way it looks like on TV.
So COLP allowed me to have that internship opportunity that allowed me to realize I do want to go into government. And because of that, I was able to get into the fellowship and be able to become a legislative assistant after my first year. So in the beginning at the state capitol, I did feel out of place. I was young, I was Latina, I was a woman in a space where there's older men, white men who have been around for a long time. Sometimes it was intimidating, and sometimes those thoughts in my head would creep in and say, are you good enough? You know, imposter syndrome. Assemblymember Miguel Santiago, he was always very encouraging. He always gave me the space to challenge myself and to do more, and he trusted me. And the same for my chief of staff. She was also a woman. She's Indian American, and she understood where I came from. So both of them together for 8 years, they really provided a very healthy work environment that allowed me to grow in my professional career.
The transition from high school to college can be difficult sometimes because you're joining a bigger community, you're meeting new people, and it's sometimes difficult to make friends or meet people while you're in the class, right? Everyone's focused on what the professor's saying. So getting involved in student organizations or extracurricular activities that you think are interesting is really helpful for making friends and building community and also starting to network. For example, if you miss a class and you need help figuring out, well, what did the professor talk about, or borrowing someone's notes, it's often through these student organizations that you make those types of connections. And I really encourage students, especially BIPOC or people of color, to get involved in student organizations that support those communities.
As a legislative assistant and legislative director, we were able to provide millions of dollars to nonprofits in California so that way they can help trafficked victims and survivors. And I was also able to do a lot of policy work to help the cause.
The end goal is to be licensed, and being able to pass the California State Bar examination is really a test of being able to comprehend what you're reading, read at a quick pace, and then also being able to write essays. The State Bar exam has a number of essays that you are graded upon in order to be able to pass the exam. So in all of those cases, I felt that my experience as a history major really helped me.
You learn how to think critically, you learn how to synthesize, you learn how to look at an issue or situation from different perspectives, and you learn how to write, and you also learn how to present. And all of those are transferable skills to a lot of different jobs. And with a history major, I would say sky's the limit with what you can do. And it's not just a history teacher or a history professor.